Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Don't Be a Man About It. Today's guest, the feelings guy, Archie Messersmith-Bunting. Yeah?
There you go. You did it. You did it.
um, I'm so happy to have you here on the show. So, you are known to be the feelings guy who is a coach, a mental health advocate, and you are a professional speaker. So, basically, you teach people on how to embrace their feelings, how to be their truth, and how to voice it out. Right?
Yep. I spend a lot of time talking to this green light, sharing with people how to really focus on feelings. We talk about mental health and suicide prevention, things that I'm really passionate about.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, before we dig in, Archie, how is your heart doing today?
Oh, that's a good question. How's my heart doing today? It is very full. I have really in 2021 tried to turn a page with being more intentional with my morning. So my husband and I have a toddler. So once the toddler is awake and the dogs are going, it's chaotic. So I have tried to really be intentional about getting up and practice breathing and focusing on myself and making intentions for the day. And also this morning I wrote I got a card for my husband and it's waiting on him as a surprise because he's so supportive of me, and so I wanted him to know how much I love him. So I definitely encouraged the heart this morning, and encouraging the heart encourages my heart.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Archie. So tell me, have you always been someone who breathes and do the meditation and all of these intentional mornings, or it's something new?
No, I've not been that person, and it is really a new practice for me.
Okay.
I started working with a coach, a life coach, and I really realized that that was part of my life that was missing. I'm such a big proponent of mental health, but I think sometimes the thing that we do in life, we take care of ourselves the last. Like, so I can talk about like focusing on your mental health, but I have to like practice my own medicine. So it is a very new practice for me, but I've definitely begun to see the positive effects from it.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that. So how did you learn to take care of yourself, being a coach and being someone who raises awareness on mental health? How did you decide? What was your turning point on that, especially as a man?
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up in the deep South here in America, and in the deep South, we don't do feelings. That's not a thing that is taught to you. That is not a thing that you see. That is not the idea of a man's man. I believe that that is changing, but even though I look quite young, I am not quite young. So when I grew up back in the early 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, there was no feelings. So I kind of, for me now, as the feelings guy, I realized that there was this void in my life. So I'm a recovering drug addict. I also struggle with a mental illness. I have a mental illness, clinical depression. I struggle with depression. And for me, I kind of realized that there was this void of like, let's focus on these feelings. And so my turning point was really, honestly, 2020. So I've been doing mental health work for a while, but focusing on feelings. I decided to start a business in 2020. I thought, 2020 sounds like a great year to start a business. And that was not the case. So I kind of realized that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I was tired of being overwhelmed all the time. I was tired of being stressed all the time. And I was like, okay, what am I not doing here? And all these things like manifestation and mindfulness and breathing. To be really honest, in the South, those are considered crunchy things that you don't really do unless you're a crunchy hippie living in the mountains. And I was like, you know what? I'm never too old to try something new. Let's try this in my life. And it has drastically improved my life.
I love that. One thing that we have in common here, where I come from in the Middle East, is that we were taught to not feel the feelings, especially for men, especially for men. Like for boys, they are crybabies if they cry. They're supposed to be the protector, the provider, the strong, the tough. So we grow up to be hiding our emotions. And when we invalidate or judge ourselves to feel a certain feeling, we're actually stripping those emotions from learning, teaching us something. We don't really learn much about ourselves. And I deal with a lot of men who are not yet ready to feel their feelings. What would be the starting point? How could we just break the pattern of that?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question and also phenomenal work that you're doing because we need more of that quickly. We need more men to be okay sharing how they feel. So this is I get asked this question a lot, and this is how I try to approach it because I believe that at our core we care about other people. I believe that to be fact. I believe that, when we see people speak or when we see people doing something, when we see an athlete doing something, we don't want them to fall. Like when you're watching figure skating in the Olympics, we don't want them to fall. Like that's not something that we don't root for people to fail. So if we start with the agreement that as human beings, we want the best in others,
Yeah.
then my challenge to people is because one of my big missions in life is to change the way we interact with each other. We've got to stop saying, "How are you today?" That means nothing. How are you today means literally nothing. Instead, say, "How are you feeling today?" So change the way we interact. So for a man who's like, you know what, I'm really struggling with this, here's the deal. You can literally help save someone else's life. If you see two men interacting with each other and you do the, "Hey, what's up, man? Not much, man. How are you?" Like that, nothing just happened. Instead, if you see a dude, like a man's man, say, "Hey, Mike, how you feeling today?" And Mike's like, "You know what, actually, Tom, I'm really struggling today." And a young boy sees that, you've just normalized
Yeah.
talking about your feelings.
That,
So if you feel like you can't do it for yourself, do it for somebody else. Do it for your son. Do it for your nephew. Do it for somebody else. Because again, we want the best in others. We tend to take care of other people better than we take care of ourselves. So if that's the mental trick you got to do it for somebody else, then literally do it for someone else.
I absolutely love that perspective. I absolutely love that. I love it. It makes more sense when we hear it from someone else. Like, if you don't want to do it for yourself, which basically you are, do it for someone
You
else.
are. Someone say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And and fathers can do it for their sons. And listen, even if your son is in college, start now. Start now. Start allowing your son to see you have a real conversation. And listen, I can't change the world overnight. So someone is still going to say to you, hey, hey, what's up? How you doing? Just don't reply fine. Fine isn't a feeling. Like reply with your actual feeling. That's how we break the cycle of this, like just like washing machine of like no feelings, no feelings, no feelings. We got to start somewhere, so let us start with you.
No, it's a two-way conversation, Archie. Such an important point that I really want to stress on. So, how are you is not really an acceptable question. So, let's say we said, "How are you feeling?" And you said, "I'm fine." How can I encourage you to actually express what are you really feeling at this moment? Because not everyone would be safe enough or comfortable enough to share really what they're feeling.
Yep. Yep. So that happens a lot. People, ask somebody like, say, hey, Sally, how are you feeling today? Or fine. And how are you?
Okay.
You know what? I'm not so great today, or like, I'm amazing. Like I give the actual answer and they're like, "Oh, okay, what's happening right now?" Because they expected me to just say fine. So, and it's not shaming someone. It's not shaming someone for saying fine. It's just redirecting their next answer
Mhm.
by showing up authentically and showing how you really are.
So could you give us an example?
Yeah. So like, I'm pretty sure when I dropped somebody off at school today, they were like, "Hey, how you doing today?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm actually very grateful today. I've had a wonderful morning, and I feel really set for the day." And their eyes were like because in their mind they were like, "I just asked you how you were. What is all this stuff?" But you know what? That's going to stay with them. And at some point today, they're going to be like, "I asked that man how he was doing. He talks about gratefulness and like mindset. Like, what is happening?" So, that person maybe may not be ready to receive it. But the next time that they ask somebody, here's what's going to happen. The next time they say, "How are you doing?" and they just say fine, they're going to be like, were you grateful? Like, like, because their mind has already been exposed to it. So for me, I just model the way. When I'm on the phone with people like about a credit card payment or a mortgage or something, and they're like, "Hello, sir, can I get your name and your address?" And I'm like, "You can, but let's start with how are you feeling today?" And they're like,
Oh, I love that.
uh, um, okay. Because they don't know how to reply. But you know what? That person feels like a human being, and that's the goal here. That's the goal.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay. I
I mean,
love
it's just
that.
easy. It's easy.
I love
It's
that.
easy. And see, like, I feel like that dudes are like, they expect me to say, okay, I want you to eat sawdust every morning. I want you to do 10 feeling push ups and run like 5 feeling miles. No, that's not what any of this is about. It's so simple. It's so simple. And that's the beauty is that, like, you can start today. You can start today. There's no training, there's no course. Like, just start today.
Wow, I love that. So, wow, okay. Archie, I'm enjoying this so much. All right. So tell
Good.
me, when, of course, getting the title of being the feelings guy, that means you've been into a chain of events that led you to hold that title. Could you share some background with us?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so I'm about to say a bad word in case your kids are listening. Yeah, I've been through some shit. So I'm a recovering drug addict. I'm an recovering IV drug user. So for me, I experimented with drugs and alcohol like a lot of humans in the world do. But for me, it put a band-aid on hurt inside. There was a lot of hurt inside. And so that's how I began to use drugs. Once you stick a needle in your arm, you're on a downward spiral. Like there's not much good coming from this anymore. For me personally, I overdosed numerous times. And one time too many. And I woke up in ICU with a tube down my throat, and I found out that I had died the night before, and that's why my chest hurt so bad because I had to do CPR to get me back. I would love to say that that was the thing that was the turning point for me. It was not. I got out of the hospital and I tried, but I really wasn't giving it my all. I was like, kind of trying, but like I like my life. Um, and I ended up trying to take my own life because it just hurt so bad. The pain was just unbearable. Luckily, I'm grateful I was not successful in that attempt, and went to another rehab and fought like hell. I was like, I'm gonna okay. Like I've been dead. I tried it. I mean, like I got no more options here. Like I got to do this thing. And so I really began to focus on myself, focus on the pain that was inside, all the hurt that was built up over the years. I also, for me, chose to take care of my mental illness, and because there was a lot of that it's in there, and like that is another thing that as guys we don't talk about, and I don't understand that. When I say to people, when I'm open about the fact that I struggle with a mental illness, that I hear voices in my head, they're like, "That's so brave," and I'm like, "Wait, why is it brave? Like I just have a medical condition. Why is it brave that I'm telling you that I have that? Like it's like somebody saying I have diabetes. When somebody says I have diabetes, we don't say that's so brave. We're like, oh, okay. It's just accepted. And like there's this ridiculous stigma around mental health in men, and I don't know why that is. And so I don't own that stigma anymore. And if you choose to have that reaction, you do. But then I'm like, I often go, why is that brave? And then they're like, I don't know, but like
Okay.
I don't want him to say it. I don't want to say it to anybody else. So for me, a focus on feelings and giving a rip about somebody else has really, really changed the way I look at life. And one of my love languages is encouraging the heart. And encouraging the heart through recognizing their feelings and focusing on them has really transformed my life.
Well, thank you for sharing. Um, Usually, if you were next to me, I would have held your hand. So for now, I'm just gonna slow down and hold the space because there were too much of energy, intense energy. But maybe hearing it from the other side, when people tell you that's so brave because they're not used to it, where I come from. So let me tell you a story. I lost my dad to suicide 11 years ago. Now it's 11 years ago because
Sorry.
we were raised in a culture that shames men who talks about their feelings. So I used to be my dad's best friend. I still am. But I never knew he was depressed. I just thought it was one of those bad days. If I knew, and at the same time, he did not get the safe environment to actually say, hey, I'm not fine. So we always say to people, yeah, it's okay to not be okay. But when someone proceeds or comes forward to share something personal and emotional, they get shamed or judged. So maybe that's where the place people are coming from to say, wow, that's brave, because they're not seeing much of good examples like that, which should be normal.
Yeah. No, I 100% accept that. I guess my challenge and my ask to people is, and so this is what I'm saying. So about 5 months ago, we found out my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer, and she has finished chemotherapy, and the prognosis is very good. But here's the difference: when my mom went on social media to share that she was diagnosed, there was no "that's so brave." People switched right into "how can we support you?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. How can we help you?" And so what I'm saying is, when I talk about mental illness, I don't usually get that. I get like, "You're so brave for sharing that." No. So I'm gonna accept what you say
I
and then
hear
share
you.
them.
No, I hear you.
And
I
then also
agree with
say,
you. Actually, I agree
yeah,
with you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I'm also that is a reframe for me that maybe that's what they mean, but
Mm,
that's not what they say.
yeah.
So let's say what we mean, and then say, Archie, man, I had no idea, but you know what? I'm here now. How can I support you? That is way better than "it's so brave."
100%. For me, one of my favorite statements when I literally don't know what to say, I would say, so I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do. Let me help you.
But I'm here. But I'm
I'm
here.
here. I'm always here.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm
Like,
here.
yeah, I think that's so true, and we need to get those words out there more because people think that like they need to share their opinion. Like I don't in that moment, I don't need your opinion. Like I don't need your opinion. I just I just need to know that you care and you're with me. So if you say I don't know what to say, but I'm here.
Well,
Can I just listen?
yeah.
Oh, just say those words. Like just yeah. But
To put
people want to
yourself in
talk and
space.
share their opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, just share. Hold the space. Hold the space. Hold the space.
100%. So we women, I'm not trying to be sexist, but that's basically facts. When we feel emotional, we cry, we eat chocolate, we vent to our friends, we meditate, we take a shower, we go for a facial, we do these kind of stuff. We let it out, we release our emotions. How do you advise men when they feel emotional? How could they check in with themselves?
Yeah. So I mean, I think in transparency, men do all those things too, even if they're not going to be honest about it. Maybe they do them in private,
Mm,
which it's just something we're trained to do. And it's so weird though because when you're like, I see the way my 2 year old interacts with their friends, and like they just cry and open, like they just start crying. There's no like, let me go to my bedroom and close the door. No, like ever they just start crying. So like this is a learned behavior that we have allowed ourselves to learn. So if it is a learned behavior, you can unlearn it if you would like to. So part of it is just allowing yourself to feel those things and not like in the beginning of the conversation, like I apologize for my dog scratching on the door. Okay, like don't apologize for that. It's just life. Like just learn to live your life. And then for some of our guys out there, you're gonna have to find your one trusted friend that like this is. So like I'm making up a name. So like Brad is the person I'm going to be 100% authentic with, and start there. And for some of you, it may not be your wife or your significant other or your partner or your husband. You may need to pick someone else. That's okay.
mm,
I may not pick someone of the opposite sex if I don't know, maybe that may be a good idea. But like pick a human that you're going to that you're for my let me clarify. For my heterosexual men, maybe you should not pick the opposite sex. Maybe I'm just saying, pick another guy that you're like, listen, I need to have somebody that I can just be 100% with. Can that be you? And if they say yes, then start doing it. And then once you have more practice, and then you can take the training wheels off and just maybe be yourself. But for someone who's as old as I am, if this is a learn or older, if this is a learned
Sorry.
behavior, then what'd you say?
You're not that old.
If this well, if this is a learned behavior, it's going to take you a minute to unlearn it. So practice.
Wow, you made it sound very simple, like you need just 1 minute to unlearn it. But I think it's the gap between realizing that I need to unlearn something and the actual unlearning.
Yep. Yep. Oh, it's definitely not simple. It's definitely not simple. That's why I was saying, that's why I was suggesting find a person. So first of all, acknowledging, do I ever show feelings?
Mm.
Hmm, maybe not. Maybe I should start. Well, how do I do that? Let me practice on my own. First of all, just acknowledge the feeling. Okay, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. Like, acknowledge that, like, feelings are normal, and then grow to, okay, I'm going to reach out to my best friend Brad. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. Can I just be real with you? And then it grows from there. We're talking like this is a process. You don't go from like training wheels to a motorcycle. Like, you got to work it up here. But acknowledgement is the first step. You're 100% right.
Wow, okay. That's awesome. So, what kind of values are you giving to your son? I truly believe in something that you just started the conversation with, is that if you're not doing it for yourself, at least do it for your kids. And I absolutely love where that's coming from, because part of this raising awareness on mental health, at least from where I am, I want to do it for the coming generations. I want to save our kids and their kids from a lot of mental health hassles just because we were raised on that. And I love it. So tell me more about how you being, the feelings guy with a son, 2-year-old son. So what are the things that you are teaching him and how is he receiving that?
Yeah. So our son's name is Cade,
Okay.
and Cade has a lot of feelings, and we're fine with that. He has big reactions to things, and that's fine. We're not tampering those reactions. We're not saying these reactions are bad. I
Mm,
think some of his reactions will, I mean, I do have a major in education, so I know that some of them are going to fluctuate over time. um, and we're also not trying to like force developmental milestones on him. Like, he's one of at his pre-K, he's one of the last children that is not potty trained, and that's fine. We're not pushing. There is so much happening in the world right now, and children feel our energy. Children feel the fact that, like, his dad and I are stressed about what is happening in America. The bigger, like, there's a lot happening right now.
mm,
We're not going to add another stressor to our child's life. He can be potty trained next year. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. So we are not forcing things on him. Now, we've set boundaries and we have timeout, and we do those things. But we laugh and we dance, and like, he's seen me cry, and he knows what that means now, and he'll come up and like, like, Papa, okay, Papa, okay. Like, he's learning to like console, and
mm.
and they even say at school that he is a very compassionate, feeling child. That, I think, is a high compliment. And I hope that as he grows up and becomes a part of society, and there's going to be a pull there between like what normal, like, this is what you should be normally, but yet my papa says to do this, and so we'll have those conversations, and we'll navigate. But he's he's a very feeling child, and I could not be prouder.
Bless your family, Archie. Bless your family. I could feel the energy and your tone change when you started talking about Kate. And I do believe that we need more compassionate men in our society, more space to allow boys to express themselves, to cry whenever they want to be themselves without being shamed for that. I do remember one, a friend of mine. So one of his parents, I cannot remember if it was his dad or his mom, but at the funeral, he was not allowed to cry. Like, come on, don't cry yet. We are having people over. We're getting that. We have to do this. And then I was like, dude, just cry, just cry. We need less of that and more of Kate, please. So thank you.
Oh, that makes me sad. I mean, that just makes me sad. When I hear stories like that, it makes me sad. And it so I was never not allowed to cry. Like I've always been emotional. And like I mean, I saw my father cry at his mother and his father's funeral. Like I saw that. But feelings were definitely not something I would say that were encouraged. And my parents didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I was born in 1970 something. I won't say the year. But that was the way that we were raised in the South, and so they did nothing wrong. But I have chosen, so this is not wrong, right? I have chosen to make feelings a central part of the raising of my son. And that is a choice that we have made. And for us, that is the right choice.
I love that. So part of feeling the feelings is also not allowing people to gaslight us when we are trying to be authentic, when we are trying to share something and someone would come and tell you, come on, you're just acting silly, or you're just being stupid, or grow some pants or something. What is the best way to deal with that?
Do you mean,
Very common.
yeah? So you mean if someone says that to me, or if I hear
Yeah,
someone, or if I'm trying to teach people what?
100%. No, no. When someone comes to you and invalidate or denormalize
Yeah.
feelings you're feeling and just calls you out as being silly or being stupid or being too sensitive. So gaslighting someone for
Yeah.
their feelings. How can someone not defend? I don't want to use the word defend, but deal with such toxic behavior?
Yeah, so I mean, I think 100% this depends on the situation and the circumstance, but a thing that's said a lot in the states is "man up, bro." Like, you need to man up,
Yeah.
and I think that is one of the most dangerous statements we can say to somebody because you have no idea what they're struggling with. It's that said a lot of times if a man is dealing with some depression or some mental illness, and trust and believe, if I could cut this off, I would, but I can't. So you saying man up to me, somehow insinuating that I'm less of a man because I'm struggling with mental illness, like you need to check yourself. So I am very direct with people. I'm not sure if everyone is going to be able to be in that place, because if you're also still trying to navigate the fact that, like, owning the fact that, like, okay, what's happening up here I can't control. So if you're kind of in that space still, I mean, you could just say something as simple as, thank you so much for that suggestion, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I mean, just like, like just kind of cut it off. Now I personally would be way more direct than that, but just thank people, thank you so much, thank you,
Love that.
and then just move along, because that person isn't ready to meet you. If they literally think that you can control this, they're not ready. So just thank you so much, thank you so much, have a wonderful day, and move along.
I absolutely love that. And yes, part of why I chose this name for my show, don't be a man about it. Like, who decides what a man should or should not do or feel or not feel? I have a friend, I love that statement. So he always says, be a real man and cry. Be a real man and open up. Be a real man and just talk about what you're feeling. And it doesn't matter who listens or who doesn't, because there are a lot of people who would be willing to listen to you and to support you and just treat you as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, isn't it kind of ironic that like there's a hashtag like real men wear pink, or real men blah blah blah, or real men blah blah blah. Like, it's kind of ironic that we even have to have a hashtag. Like, why can't I just show up? Like, why does the way that I show up have to be the same as your friend shows up, as the way as my father shows up? Like, this is just how I show up. And like, this is, and thank heavens that I'm not in a place where I was, 20 years ago, where I wasn't comfortable with that. And that's why I was using drugs, because I wasn't comfortable with this version of myself. Like, this is who I am. And if this is not what you need, then go find something else. There are tons of people out there to be a resource to you. Like, this is how I show up. And I think that it's wonderful. And so I'm going to keep showing up that way. And I want my son to figure, however he shows up, come on, show on up, just show up. Because I would rather you show up authentically than show up in some like bullshit kind of way where you're like got some mask and like whatever. I don't have time for that. Let me see who you are. Let me see all the warts. Let me see that. And then let's meet each other there. That's where the magic happens. When you show up with all your warts, show up like that.
I love that. Yeah. To show up from a place of peace, not showing up from a place of pain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, if we're talking about your listeners here in the States, there's a lot of pain right now. There's a lot. I mean, not just with the pandemic, the global pandemic. There's a lot happening in our country, and there are a lot of people who have drawn a lot of lines and said, "This is what I believe." Period. And I think that's fine. We also have to have some grace. There needs to be a lot more grace given right now because people are trying to figure things out. And I'm not suggesting or saying that you need to be connected to people that damage your mental health. I'm actually saying the opposite of that. But you can also give yourself grace to say, I can't do this. I can't do this. Maybe not forever, but just right now, I can't do this. I'm going to take care of myself and my family. I'll get back to you. So don't forget when you're giving people grace to give yourself grace too.
I love that. So when you say that, one thing comes to my mind is self-care for men. Could you give ideas on how a man can really, like, genuinely take care of himself?
Yeah. So, I mean, I work with men a lot in my work. And for some reason, self care for men has become equal. And like the only thing is going to the gym.
Yeah.
Okay. That is taking care of your physical self. That has nothing to do with your mental health. Now, does it help your mental health to go for a run? Of course it does. Do the endorphins? Of course it does. But like why in school do we learn the four food groups, but we don't learn about physical and mental health? Like, why is that? Why can't we talk about all the ways to take care of yourself, like spiritually, physically, mentally? So I'll just share for me some things that because I also think that men forget to be very granular. So let me keep this tactful. But I reflected on 2020, and so I reflected on the times in my life that I was not practicing self-care, self-love, like doing things to better yourself. That's the definition of self-care. Well, I realized that I was leaving the library. When I say the library, the place where we go to do our personal business when your bowels kick in. That's the library. So I found myself leaving the library angry. I was angry because I was on Twitter, like just like doom scrolling on Twitter. Like, and I know that people are like, "Oh, that's gross." You all do it, so don't be judging me. And so I decided that for me in 2021, I was closing the library. The library is closed. So when I go to the library, I put my phone in like a phone sanitizer thing. So that's a cue. My phone's going to get some sanitization on its word for the day. And you know what? I reflect on gratitude while I'm in the library now. And you know what? My days have been better. So find the times that you look back at like the past week and think, when was I the most stressed, or like what triggered me? Like for me, it was very clear, the library. So that's why I'm saying get granular. Think about the things in your life that bring stress up for you or that are stressors, and then find a way to reverse it. Like I can't stop going to the library. That'd be a problem. But what I can do is I can get off Twitter while I'm there.
Yeah.
So don't think about self-care being like 25 push-ups, eating ice, blah, 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 blah. Like do those things if that helps you physically, but reflect on the times that you find yourself being mentally challenged as well, and then do something to correct those things.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add on this one? Because I could go for hours talking about that. You have really highlighted something that I have been trying to raise awareness on for ages, which is self-care for men. Maybe we should do another episode on that, but it's really important. I truly believe that it's very important, not only for men or women. I want to reach a time when we speak out of the humans, like humans.
Yeah.
So,
If he
but
needs, yeah.
until that day comes, I want men to be comfortable enough to say, I'm going to take care of myself today. This is what I'm going to do.
Yep. 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 And I think that's because, either in like, let's talk to the men in like what we consider traditional roles. So men, wife, children, right? So that's going to be, and I'm going to own the fact that like that stereotypically would be traditional, right? Well, so there's also been this like stereotype that like once you become a provider for your family, you come last. That is crap. That is crap. Like that, there's this idea of like servant leadership. Okay, we all know where servant leadership came from. It came from the Bible. Okay, so we're just going to talk about that for a second. If the shepherd has worn himself out and so he falls asleep, well, the sheep are not getting back in the pen. If the shepherd gets mono or a cold because he's like pushing himself, well, then the sheep are not going to be taken care of. So, like, if we're going to use that analogy, you got to take care of yourself. So, if that means you've got to get up an hour earlier, which is what I do before the dogs and the kids and the whatever, once the day has like exploded, which all of our days explode, whatever that looks like for you, the day starts coming. It for me, if I'm not set mentally, self-care, taking care of Archie before then, what good am I to my son? I'm gonna snap at my husband. I'm gonna like, why haven't you gotten him dressed? Like all those, it is a direct correlation to Archie not taking care of himself. So whoever you are out there listening, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, give yourself permission to focus on you. You have to focus on you before you can be ready for anybody else. And if you don't have a family, okay, you still got to focus on you because your day is still going to explode, whatever that looks like. So take care of yourself.
Please take care of yourself. Yeah, I stress on that. Archie, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Um, Anything else you'd like to add? The space is yours.
No, I mean, oh, no, I mean, I just want to reiterate, let's practice giving some grace. And for a lot of us, we need to give grace to ourselves because there's a lot happening. Give yourself some grace, give yourself permission to take care of yourself and just see what that feels like. Like don't commit to like the next 90 days. Commit to 7 days. Like I'm going to try this for 7 days. And then after 7 days, if you're like, "Huh, that feels better," then keep going. If it doesn't feel better, why doesn't it feel better? Is it because it's bringing up stuff and you don't want to deal with it? Okay, that doesn't mean it's not working. That means you need to deal with that stuff. So, please don't say in 2021, I'm going to do this every day. Nope, 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 no, don't do that. 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, give yourself milestones and then celebrate that you did it and then keep going.
Yes, celebrate your progress. I love that. Archie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share, and tell your friends.